vision that I see in Noida, you're developing luxury in a rapidly upgrading market. How are buyers redefining luxury today, especially around wellness and lifestyle? Um, Luxury is something which is very subjective from a person to person. Everybody has their own definition. I guess we try to standardize some parts of it. What Vision Dynasty essentially brought to the table was a more functional, a more practical way of living. Vision Dynasty tried to define a new
कितना
meaning of
30
luxury, which was above the fancy finishes and above the Italian marbles and above the brick and mortar. They tried to bring in some spaces that brought you back to life. And interestingly, when we started with the concept of wellness homes, it wasn't something that people were jumping at. Like, to be very honest, it was like, what wellness? It sounds like a spa. You visit a spa. What is it that you're doing? Cut to 5 years later, I have a development full of these 204 residents, and they really value the sunlight that we created. They really value the TMA units in their apartments. They value the open green spaces. They value the low density living, and they value farm to fork. And these are the things that they did not know they would need. So
ये
I
पैनल
think
पांचवा है ना
luxury buyers today
ये पांचवा पैनल है
are not defining what luxury is, but are accepting and welcoming what you're offering. They are
अभी अभी
welcoming a
भेजा
newer
इसने
way of life. They are welcoming a more functional living lifestyle. And that is where I think if the developers are listening and the buyers are welcoming, that exactly is what is shaping the market today. That's well said. So rising expectations immediately also put pressure on brands. So this is really now.
Sure.
Branded residences today are no longer just about name association. In collaboration, like with Oberoi Reality's 360 with the Ritz-Carlton, how does a brand tangibly and long-term value for residents beyond aesthetic prestige and initial brand recall?
So I'll take you through a little journey of how we conceptualize 360 West. As you would know, since you're in the market, 360 West was launched in 2014. The concept of branded residences and the concept of managed branded residences was almost non-existent at that time in this country. I think we just had Grand Hyatt and the Four Seasons in Grand Hyatt Mumbai and Four Seasons Bangalore that have service apartments. But the concept of branded residences had not yet entered into the market. That's when the thought of building something that that customers would never even imagine or not even conceptualize that you would be able to live in homes like this in Mumbai is what we had a vision for. Today, it's a very well-known concept. And one of the things we have a long-term association with the Marriott International, and Vikas, who's the chairman, felt that the right brand for a project like 360 West would be the Ritz-Carlton because, of course, of its credibility and the strong brand name globally. However, the Ritz-Carlton Hotel stands on the same property, but the residences, because we are a well-known brand, Oberoi Realty, we went on a complete brand building exercise in 2014 and called the project 360 West, managed by the Ritz-Carlton. So it's a managed residence, and the services that you will actually experience would be meted out by the Ritz-Carlton. I think this is something that was conceptualized that people wouldn't have even imagined at that time. Today, it's very well known. The market has evolved. Today, you have the next generation buyers who are well traveled, globally exposed, tech savvy, want wellness and lifestyle to be right at their doorstep. They want their kids and their children to grow up learning sports, leisure, recreation right where you are. And if all that is found in one particular ecosystem or a project, and if that's managed by great hospitality, And that is what most of the other developments lack. And this is our unique selling proposition at 360 West, where the people who are experts in what they do, like the hospitality groups, if they can actually service your residences and your customers, that's a complete experience, which is an aspirational brand experience that we offer our customers.
Well said. So I think here it wouldn't be wrong to say that consistency is the new luxury, and maybe design becomes the language. From that perspective, Tushar, what do you think? Architecture often carries luxury quietly. Which design decision most influence daily comfort and well-being, even if residents never articulate them?
Uh, Hi, everyone. See, the marrying the culture is the most important aspect in when we call in for design perspective from a brand perspective. Brand has a set norms, they have identity, they have palette ready with themselves. What we play with the personalized touch that the resident would want in there, keeping the scantity or keeping the intent of the brand intact, not going to overboard. That's the most difficult situation comes as a designer, that we can't go to overboard, we can't go to underboard. And that's where the design involvement is something that it gets more crucial, because whatever we are Indians, we have certain style of hospitality that we give to people that come in house.
I agree.
And that's where, and the lifestyle, at the heart, we are all Indians, whether we're millennials or we come into a bracket which is lower to that. So brands set the rules, we break the rules at times to marry the cultures and the intent of the end user.
Okay, that's great. So, as you rightly said, that brand comes with a lot of guidelines, restrictions. A buyer is seeking personalization. It can really, really get very complex. And when you say that, yes, you do sometimes break those rules, how do you kind of navigate those challenges to ensure the consumer or the end consumer's vision is kind of met? Is it very difficult, or you're able to navigate? Because I know working with brands is not really easy. So what are your views here?
See, when we talk of hotels, that point of time, it's not too difficult because you are making it for mass.
True.
You're making it very generalized. When we talk of personalized, even if I'm doing residence of a build, maybe a CEC or a show apartment for any of these brands, Oberoi's or maybe Prestige or anyone. So there is a generalized approach. If I'm making a house for you, if you're a brand owner, the perspective is completely 360-degree changed. It's an emotional journey that you carry along.
Sure.
So what you're managing is not the funds, what you're managing, not the brand. What you're managing is the emotion that is involved in a residence. And that journey is a lifelong journey. So you become part of that family, you become part of their lifestyle, you become part of the sophistication. Everything is calculated with the norms that you have to follow. So if there is a trust of your client in you, you can balance both the worlds together. And that balancing is most difficult.
Absolutely, I totally agree. And that reflection of the personality of the buyer and end user is
Of
very,
course,
very
of
important. So
course.
that's very critical here. Coming back to you, Yukti, as a developer, how challenging is it to balance wellness-led expectations with feasibility and delivery realities?
Mm, I don't see that as a big challenge per se. I mean, of course, there is definitely an increment of cost
Sure.
when you're trying to bring these platinum certified construction architecture in place, and you'd be able to elaborate on that. But at the same time, I mean, so is the price of cement rising, but we haven't stopped construction. So I don't see it as a challenge. I see it as a need of today. If we are not careful about
what we are developing, what impact it has on the environment, I mean, then we're not really the good caretakers of the cities and towns that we are developing. With that being said, in the past few years, I've just experienced a slight encouragement, not only from the government standpoint, but also from the buyer standpoint. They are demanding more sustainable buildings. They are demanding more energy efficient buildings and more thoughts that ensure a better future. For example, we had a meeting with our residents at Gulshan Dynasty, and we were talking about what to do with this extra space that we have left. You don't have enough pets. And what do you want to create? They're like, let's just build a large air purifier and make sure that we have the best AQI in the city. So with that kind of support, I think that we are headed towards a new era of real estate. With that collaboration from the government, from the buyers, I think what we are about to see is a beautiful green architecture coming into play.
That's so all of this meets the buyer at the transaction table, and that's where you come in, Sumesh. So from a transaction reality or a perspective, does a branded residence de-risk the purchase or make buyers more discerning?
Yeah, of course. See, if you see from the developer's perspective, what the developer gets on tying up with a branded player, and there are three different categories where the trends have been changing. So, for example, it started with design-led branded residencies in the form of a Versace or a Trump branded residencies initially. Then it moved on to hospitality branded residencies with Ritz-Carlton, Fairmont, St. Regis, so on and so forth. And now we've seen an emerging trend of wellness, longevity, led residencies coming up. So for a developer, it brings a lot of credibility on table, a differentiation in terms of positioning their product, and the discussion with the buyer moves from per square footage to what value you are bringing on table for them. And from the customer perspective, and we've seen again, the demand from a millionaire as versus a billionaire is different. For example, a millionaire looks for more of a hospitality services, or something where he's well traveled and he wants his amenities, his standard to match his building, or his community to match international standards. So that is what a millionaire would look for. A billionaire looks for more security. He looks for something like, as Yukti said, more from the health perspective, how you can improve the AQI, how you can help them in providing better amenities, and the latest the trend, which is to manage your mental health better, your gut health better, you sleep well, you breathe well, green areas, open areas, so on and so forth. So yes, for a customer perspective, it definitely gives you a snob value that yes, I am paying the a big money for getting the right branded residency with the right amenities in place, right services in place, and something which shows that I have arrived in life. So yes, branded residency adds a lot from a customer's mindset as well.
Great. Also, based on your Lighthouse Bandra Bay report, which is very, very interesting, what is the biggest shift in buyers' expectations from branded or hospitality-led residences today?
So, again, Bandra Bay, when we thought of Bandra Bay, we were doing something at Bandra Reclamation with several developers. And we realized that more often than not, obviously real estate is driven by location. But along with the location, you also need to, communicate the story around the connectivity, the amenities, the open areas, the green areas, and there's something for every age group in the family. Once that communication is given to the audience, I think the decision making becomes easier. That is what we saw with Bandra Bay. Now, it was known as Bandra Reclamation always, and a lot of people felt that it is a LIG, that's a low income group, or a high income group, or a middle income group. I think it's Sikamari. So it was always perceived as a low income group or a middle income group area. But when we got all the 7 developers who were developing projects there to come on the same platform and communicate this story that this location, which is Bandra Reclamation or Bandra Bay as we call it now, is located in the center of the city. The location is right next to BKC on one side, and on the other side you have the Worli Sea Link, Bandra Worli Sea Link, which connects you to Worli within like 2 minutes. So the location is great. Out of a 100-acre complex, almost 45 to 50 acres is green area, open area, or playgrounds. You have the best school, you have the best hospitality services. Then Bhada is coming up with the best of, water management, waste management, sewage lines. So that story had to be communicated. Once we rebranded the entire area, where all the developers, the planning authority, and the guardian minister, they all came on the board and they communicated this story. We have seen that in the last 3 months, where we used to have like 25, 30 walk-ins a week across these 7 projects. Now that has moved 4 times. We match the data, we try to get automatically the interest quotient and the storytelling has become easier for everyone. And now the customer has more believability in that story. Likewise, similar to a branded story, wherever a branded player comes in, the customer knows that the due diligence has been done. A global brand will come only when he knows that the credibility of the developer is right and they can add real value. So similarly, I think we saw success at the Bandra Bay.
That's great. So I think when we started and what I'm really hearing is about open spaces. So, earlier, whenever luxury, we would say, okay, my size of the apartment, what are my fit outs, what's my flooring? But I think that narrative is really changed. Now people need open spaces. It's completely redefined. That's very interesting because I did, Yukti spoke about it. Tushar, you did mention. So yeah, great. I have a question for you, Serena. Marketing branded residences balances aspiration with credibility. How do you ensure the launch promise remains authentic in everyday living?
Yeah. So like I said before, when we launched 360 West, it was very important to communicate to the market and to people who are aspirational and considering a home there to understand who the developer was. So the Oberoi Realty brand and the Oberoi name is synonymous with building, quality homes and luxury homes. We are positioned as a luxury brand. I think that was very important to communicate. Although you would know that we did not actually market it, the way you would normally do. This was on a very select, invite-only strategy that we adopted formally. And I think the kind of customers and the level of customers that were gravitating towards this project were mostly industrialists, well-known celebrities, and people from the corporate high-end background. So when you believe in a brand, when you believe in a credible brand, you know what your money is buying. And I think taking that through is our responsibility as a developer to make sure that that promise that was made is kept, and you come up with an outstanding project, something that you would never imagine. One of the things I always talk about is in our days when we had Blackberries, of course, there are very young people in the room, but when we had Blackberry, if you would ask somebody what kind of a phone would you like in the future, none of us here would have thought it would be something like an iPhone or a smartphone. But it was someone like Steve Jobs who had the vision for a phone like that. So that's the luxury market. That's the ultra luxury market. You have to wow the customer with your project. If it's not wow, it's not luxury.
Very well said. Coming back to you, Tushar, how do you balance strong brand guidelines with personalization, especially for millennials and young professionals, and maybe Gen Z to some extent?
I think dealing with Gen Zs or millennials is very easy.
Okay.
They want everything minimalist.
No, they want everything minimalist and they're very sure. For 2 years, they are very sure.
They know what they want.
What they want for 2 years is very sure. So our span when we design, it is the cycle of maybe 1 year we complete the job, another year they enjoy, and then we get another job. So
Sure.
it's easier for us for dealing with.
So
And
you're making
millennials
more
are like,
money.
we are all millennials in a way, so we are
Sure.
quite sorted in a way. And because in the day-to-day life also we are dealing with our second generation, so we have married that, we have crossed that bridge somewhere in between. So it's not that difficult, but yes, they come with a lot of homework as well. If I want black, why I want black, which black, where black, all that is there in the list. It is very well sorted. So it's not a big struggle for us. But luxury, if I say the redefinition of luxury is not only the visuals.
Sure.
All five senses have to be given that due when we talk of luxury these days. So whether it is a very Gaudi style design or it is a very minimalistic, maybe Scandinavian design, everything has to have all five senses very well taken care of.
Also, from a longevity perspective, how do you design spaces that feel contemporary today, yet timeless and relevant 10 or 20 years from now?
Relevant is today what we are experiencing. So if the palette, as every brand, if you see, the palette is very silent. What you fill up is the accessories, what you fill up is the colors with your artwork. So that makes it more longevity in the way it is. I mean, you can pull off that design for very prolonged period. If the palette, the civil work, or you see backdrop is not too overpowering, then you have, because trends changes, even phone changes every year. There is a new version. So there is nothing relevance. Relevance is today. What you like today is relevant.
Sure.
So those were the time people used to make houses for 20 years, 10 years. Now it is reduced to 5 years. Soft furnishing, we redo furnishing every year before Diwali. So that's the trend.
Can I ask you a question though? Has it ever happened with you that while designing, like the starting point of, say, a Gen Z or a millennial's preference has completely changed by the time your design is complete? Has that ever happened with you?
Not really.
Not really?
Not really. Because they come for first meeting and they come when the thing is ready, because they are into a lot of delulus and a lot of other jobs that they have to do throughout the day. And the
Interestingly, I have experienced that quite a bit, when in our in Gulshan Dynasty, we offered customization for the entire apartment, like you could change your interiors completely. And we did notice that from the day of purchase and from the day of selection of their design to say 3 to 4 months, the day of execution is complete. Like now we don't like this. Can we turn it around? And that I thought would be a practical problem you would also be facing.
Not much. It happens on the parents level.
Okay.
So,
Maybe I'm dealing with the parents.
So, we always say that the next gen buyer doesn't want his home to look like his parents' home. He wants minimalism. He wants a lot of space around
believe
him.
me, 8 years kid, they don't want pinks and blues in their bedrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more
exactly.
mature.
No, I agree.
And they don't have too many requirements also. Like we don't want TV in the room.
Mm.
We are happy with, we don't watch television. Everything is on the laptop or a phone or an iPad. They are readers. They read a lot. They do research work. So I think it's very evolved generation. We curse them, we criticize them, but how much I deal in my what do you say, field, they are easiest clients.
Wow.
So
That's
do you
definitely
like
insightful.
working more with the Gen Zs or their parents?
No, I like anybody who has money.
That's nice. That's well said. So since we are talking about money, at the transaction stage, Sumesh, what kind of personalization genuinely helps close the deal? And what tends to really complicate them?
So again, as Tushar said, that various generation of buyers or the family members have different desires or different wants in terms of what do they want out of their personal space, what do they want as a community space. So for example, the senior members of the family, they would want more open areas, more focused areas on their health, security, the frequent travelers would want concierge services or hospitality services to manage their apartments in their absence. They would want concierge facilities for their travel, their hotel bookings, etc. Then for the Gen Z, what we are witnessing is that they want some customization in terms of their amenity areas. These days, for example, Oberoi 360, I remember, was the first one to have a bowling alley in their amenity space. So we saw people asking for Oberoi 360 में bowling alley है, ये project में है क्या, वो project में है क्या. So that became one of the talking points, and then one of the latest launches announced it as one of the first amenities. Then we saw, in the F&B segment, people ask for these days, if there is a bar at the poolside, does it have a health menu, or it has a different menu for a gut health? As simple as that. I mean, a lot of people want more clarity in terms of all the aspects of amenities and the services that your project is providing.
True. I have a question for you, Yukti. Do you think, from a developer's perspective, branded living is a short-term trend, or do you think it's a permanent shift in the luxury real estate space, both in India and globally?
See, globally, we've seen this trend stay for a very, very long time. I remember when I stayed in San Francisco, it was all over the place. I think it depends on the offerings that we as developers are bringing to the table. If we continue to bring value with each of the offerings, this is a trend that is just elevating your level of living. So I don't see it as a short-term change. It really lies upon our prestigious shoulders to carry this trend as long as we can, by keep ensuring the value, keep tying up with the right brands. And like she said, it's our responsibility to ensure the launch promises are met and kept up until the last breath. So we continue to do that. We continue to keep building the same spaces.
Well said. Serena, what do you think? HNIs and UHNIs are far more discerning today. What are they truly seeking? Service, philosophy, privacy, wellness, or a seamless lifestyle ecosystem?
All of it, actually. So India is one of the 10 markets globally for branded residences. Like Yukti said, it is here to stay. Overseas, the developer is lesser known. It's usually the project or the property is owned by a consortium, and the developers lesser known. But in India, the developers are very well known because they have built a legacy and a brand for themselves, whether it's in Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi. So the trust factor plays a very big role. We always say that this is one of the biggest check a customer will write. And when you write that big check, you want to give it to a credible brand.
True.
So, international and global hospitality brands want to work with credible and established players in India, because then their name and their credibility is at stake. Where the ultra HNIs and HNIs are concerned, that's just growing in India. The aspiration is growing. We all know that. We can see that. South Mumbai is going to soon look like New York, I think. I always say Mumbai is going to be left with only the rich people and the domestics. The rest of us, I think, have to migrate out of the city. And people are demanding, and the customers are demanding a better lifestyle, a better, bigger, larger homes. We saw that especially after COVID, that people want bigger homes where they can live, work, play, the children can study. And what if you can just walk down to your gym? I mean, the 360 West has amenities. The clubhouse is 100,000 square feet, huge, with everything in it, with the bowling center, with the restaurants, with the bar, indoor swimming, outdoor swimming. So imagine living, with your wellness just at your doorstep. And we truly believe that the future of luxury is quiet. With all the noise around us, more and more people are seeking a quieter life when they come home with their family, what's around them. And quiet luxury is not ostentatious. luxury all this while has been very ostentatious, bold, gold, loud. I think more and more people want a simpler life,
Sure.
a less complicated life.
It's more subtle now.
It's more subtle. And if we can, as developers, if we can provide that, as at the end of the day, it's a home. And if you can create a home for your customers, which is peaceful, which is less stressful, less overstimulating, I think that would be a very well job done.
Great. So before our clock is ticking and before we move to a Q&A, I would like to do a quick rapid fire, but this comes with,
Scary.
but this comes without a hamper. Okay. So yeah. Okay, we'll see, as it may be Anurag is very generous, so we'll see if a hamper can be arranged. So my first question to you, Yukti, okay. Luxury today is more about dash than anything else.
Convenience.
Okay.
Convenience, always.
Right. Serena, one brand attribute buyers are willing to pay for a premium.
Lifestyle.
Okay. Tushar, one global design idea India should adopt or avoid.
Proportions.
Okay. Subesh, one thing buyers underestimate when buying branded homes.
I think again, lifestyle or convenience.
Great. I think that was quite interesting, and you guys were too fast. I think my rapid was like really rapid. We'll open for Q&A. Anyone from the audience has any questions for our panel? Okay. Can someone pass the mic? Oh, I'll come down.
Thank you. It was a great talk and I enjoyed it. My question is like the luxury always whispers. So what exactly does it mean luxury always whispers?
You have this question for anyone would like to take
It's not, it's like, as you said, it's not a noise, it's just a whisper. So you have to be very, like attentive and see what luxury means. Like it's whisper, whatever you told, I think it's more or less what you said. It's about, peace and, like that.
Yeah, it should whisper. And I think we do not. So I think in the real estate industry, luxury has been, sorry for me saying this, but it has been really abused. This is the job of the marketeer or the brand marketeer, where you do not use words loosely. If you're going to use these words so that your project sells, your customer is not an idiot. He knows what is luxury and what is not. So you rightly said that. If you're a luxury brand, you will not scream.
Yes. Can someone please pass the mic there?
Can I just add this to you, sir? So, for example, you shout on top of or on the rooftop when you are launching a project. You have to communicate the vision. So at that time, luxury is talking aloud. But once the project is delivered and the experience is there, I think that is when the true luxury whispers. And that reflects in the future launches. So, for example, once the camellias were launched, then DLF never needed to make any noise. It was all whisper, right?
Very well said.
I shall add something there. So, in my experience of 25 years, the end user, there is a saying that we have made for them. It's a direct intent of not showing off, but indirect intent of showing off.
So, I have an example here to give. The hospitality industry, I come from the hospitality industry. You will never see them shouting and saying, come and stay in my hotel, or hoardings and, we are luxurious. But when you go there and you actually stay there, you stay at the Taj Hotel or you stay at the Hyatt or the Marriott, you feel the luxury, you experience it. So I think as real estate developers, we have to adopt that.
But coming from North India, though, I would like to slightly differ there.
Louder the better, isn't it?
I am from North India. Luxury used to be very, very loud. But in the last 5 years, we have seen it change. We've seen it stand out. We've seen it learn to whisper. And we've seen it not being translated by, like I said, fancy gold finishes, but the functionality it adds to your life. So I think along with the market, we as developers and we as Indians are also kind of sort of changing the definition, evolving with it as we go. It should whisper. It wasn't though 5 years ago.
So it's the Gen Zs, I think.
But
Gen Z
by the way,
tags.
gold is not gone. It has become matte gold.
It's very expensive now.
Yes.
I would like to share a thought which is just being felt and realized and in the process of being imbibed and absorbed. The idea is to create a structure with a LEED's green energy certification, which includes open spaces, but it also gives that extra luxurious peace of mind factor to the occupants, signaling or signifying the importance that when the environment gives us so much, it is our moral duty to give back something rather than destroy what we are getting free of all the 5 elements. Would like your comments on that.
So I think lead building and lead certification are always there, and they have always been there from the last decade or so. It applies more for commercial buildings because the number of inhabitants or the usage in terms of the number of people utilizing a commercial building per square feet basis is higher on a commercial building side. So the rules are a bit stricter on that side. Residential buildings also have been following, especially all the larger developments have now been following the lead or the platinum lead norms set by the environment bodies and the local authorities. In terms, it's a given nowadays. You can't market it as such, but you try to highlight this to your audience that yes, we are using the windows, we are using the open areas in line with the required norms, and that's how you are rated in terms of your development as well.
We were in a meeting with the IGBC head, and she said that in this 2025 onwards, it is time that this needs to be communicated if it is being followed.
Yes.
But her observation was that there is a greater need to see that the execution of these norms are happening.
Yes.
So we need to, apart from being regulated, which is the way our mindset in our country works, it should come from us from within.
Yes.
So once you see it coming from within, I believe that is an extra dimension of luxury which we are imbibing and incorporating in our lives. That was my thought.
Absolutely, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sure. And just one question I have. I'm Pradeep Gidwani. Now, in real estate, I see there are a lot of documents involved: sale agreement, stamp duty, and NOC and share certificate. God forbid, by way of act of God, you lose those documents. When can we have this in a digital form, just so that we don't have the headache of keeping a track of the documents? And suppose somebody has multiple flats, he has to keep multiple documents, keep an eye on them. When can we have it in the digital form, this particular document?
Lighthouse PropTech is working on it. You will shortly listen from us. Okay. But yeah, all the larger developers, if you see, they have their apps. They have become, very strong on the CRM side. These days, the kind of communication that you have, even your registered document is scanned and provided to you within T+2 or a T+3 basis. So you always have your soft copies. Now the government of Maharashtra has also announced the tokenization and the digitization of all the documents. Obviously, it's a process, but you will shortly see the way we have air tickets and DigiYatra and all our important documents getting digitized. You will shortly see all your real estate documentation coming on these digi platforms.
But still don't lose your documents. Put them away in the locker.
Take a loan, bank will take care of it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Can we just take one last question?
Yeah, we'll take one last question. Just a request to keep it very quick. Yeah. Please direct the question to whom you want to ask. And
my question is to Serena. Serena, I just wanted to ask that there's too much of luxury supply in Mumbai. And I see, there is inventory hangover also. We always say that, things are getting sold, but, there is always a doubt in customers' mind. And, people like me also, who's a channel partner in Mumbai. So what is the fact? And how do we believe in what's happening around?
Honestly, I can only speak for ourselves. as a brand because the brand is so credible and we have a lot to offer in terms of the product, our architecture, the way we design. We're a design-led company. There's a great demand. And honestly, to tell you the truth, the demand is only increasing. People want better homes. Especially in South Mumbai, people have been living in those homes for such a long time. And they want better homes now, better facilities, better technology, better architecture. So I don't think there's an oversupply. There is enough demand and there will be enough of supply for that demand.
So I guess what we've heard today is that luxury has moved from being seen to being felt. And if there's one key takeaway from this session, it's in luxury living, consistency is the new currency. Thank you so much for our panelists, for the insights, and thank you for being a fantastic audience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to the incredible audience. Thank you so much to the incredible speakers. मैं आप लोगों को request करूंगा to remain on stage. I'm going to be calling up on stage Mr. Jay Rathore, founder and CEO of Coffee Tech Communications, to please kindly come up on stage and give the token of appreciation to our esteemed speakers. Once again, give a big round of applause to Mr. Rathore as well, please, ladies and gentlemen. He's been a part of a panel earlier as well. Loves to share knowledge and insights, and has always got a beaming, wonderful smile on his face. So much. We'll do a nice group photo with all of you together at the front, please, if I may request. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody in this room, whoever wants good quality teeth till the end of their lives, please raise your hands and please clap. Sabko chahiye, right? Thank you. Very kind of all of you, incredible, gracious audience. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you to all of you for sharing your thoughts and knowledge with us. We need 4 chairs on stage just. That should be enough. We'll quickly move on to our next conversation. This is going to be about crisis, controversy, and comebacks. Managing reputation in real estate. There's an old saying that says that comeback is always greater than the setback, right? So how do you actually make it possible and happening in real estate is something that we're going to be learning from this very incredible session. Once again, let me quickly reiterate the topic for all of you. This is crisis, controversy, and comebacks, managing reputation in real estate. I'm going to request everybody to please kindly take their seats for a seamless conversation. I'm going to be first calling up on stage our moderator for the session. She's a seasoned PR and communication specialist with over 2 decades of delivering measurable impact through strategic communication functions at JLL India, Monsanto and Godrej Properties Limited. An ex-journalist having worked with key Tier 1 publications in Delhi and Mumbai. She brings content creation expertise and extensive stakeholder networks. The one and only, give it up for Ms. Arundhati Bakshi Dighe, Head PR and Communication India, JLL. Thank you so much. May I please request you to sit over there at the corner? Yeah, thank you. My next speaker over here is a communication specialist and consultant with over 20 years of experience across media relations, corporate reputation, crisis communication, consumer and brand marketing. He works as a senior vice president at AdFactors PR and consults India Inc. on reputation management. He has been consulting leading real estate brands such as Rustomji, Mahindra Life Spaces, Korti Patel, and many others. Please give a big round of applause for Mr. Hardik Desai. Thank you. And my next guest over here is a communication specialist with experience spanning across BFSI, aerospace, manufacturing, IT, technology, food, e-commerce, travel, and policy. You see it all, you name it all, you have it all over here. It brings a proven ability to plan and implement complex communications and public relations campaigns that are in sync with the company's market realities. Please give a big round of applause for Mr. Suhas Raj, Senior Vice President of Corporate Concept, PR. And I must say that I keep working with Concept PR when it comes to interviews and events and stuff. They've got a great team. So kudos to you, Mr. Suhas, for that. And yeah, so I'll request all of you to please kindly take it forward from there. The timer is right in front of you, ma'am. And yeah, there and also there. Are we waiting for one more? Yeah. Okay. So I don't see the thing over here. Yeah. My next speaker over here, ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry. This was an error in the page setup. She's a leader who truly embodies purpose, agility, and trust. With a sharp strategic mindset and a deeply human approach to communication, she has consistently built partnerships that have stood against the test of time. Please give it up for Angela Minocha, who's the managing partner at White Marquee Solutions. Thank you so much. Now this completes the panel, I truly believe, right? Completed is. Can I have a bigger round of applause for this panel, ladies and gentlemen, to set things right? And now over to you all. We look forward to hearing all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for not forgetting Angela. Crisis, controversy, and comeback. Quite a tongue twister. And all of us who are sitting here are all familiar with every word of it. In today's hyper-connected world, a real estate reputation that has been built over many, many years can unravel through a simple thing like a defect at one of the developer or an ESG controversy or a downturn in the market, right? So the question is not whether your brand will face a crisis. It is when and how do you circumvent that crisis and emerge as a leader. So today we will explore how leading real estate professionals navigate these challenges, turning potential disasters into opportunities for demonstrating resilience, transparency, and renewed stakeholder trust. So I will keep it open to all of you. Any one of you can take it. The youngest one can take it first. First question. What's the most significant? So you decide who is the youngest one here. What's the most significant reputation challenge you have witnessed in real estate, and what made the response effective or ineffective? If you could give me both the ideas.
So what made it
Effective or ineffective?
all right, I think I'll go first. Nothing to
Youngest
do with
one. Okay.
nothing to do with age, I guess. First of all, thanks for this opportunity. Look, the very first thing that we need to understand, right? I think when we talk of real estate, whether it's residential, commercial, whatever be it, it's a significant investment,
Yeah.
right? I mean, think of numbers. I mean, an average Indian family, perhaps, especially in Mumbai, would shell out anywhere between 14 to 20 times their annual income on any residential project that they're investing into, right? And I mean, again, I'm not discriminating between luxury and non-luxury. I mean, I'm just saying at any level, they're investing that kinds of, that sums of money. And when you do, I think as developer or as somebody who's in the ecosystem, you're duty bound to ensure that you're giving them the best experience, right? And when that doesn't happen, in terms of what you claim and then what you deliver or you don't deliver, I think that's a crisis, right? Some brands understand this better over others because look, at Concept PR, we actually work with a lot of real estate brands, luxury, premium, uber luxury. I mean, there's so many adjectives that brands are using to define themselves. But across, I think one thing's common, right? Proportionately, people are invested into how and what they want from their investment. And to that point, I think brands that understand this sentiment tend to do far better when it comes to crisis in the way they respond, empathy being one, putting themselves in somebody else's shoes, and therefore, and also allowing somebody like us. I mean, I'm a PR firm. At the end of it, I'm also answerable to my client in terms of what goes, what doesn't. The clients that understand this sentiment tend to give us a lot more freedom to manage it. And when they give us freedom, the outcomes are invariably better, right? From a public relations point of view. So at the end of it, a crisis is there, but I think the brands come out stronger. The media tends to be nicer to us when they do understand that we are being very honest in our communication. But of course, and the converse of it also is true, right? When a brand doesn't give you that freedom to, I think go out and express yourselves in the way it's appeals to the public. There again, I've noticed often that the media, the primary stakeholder being media, because it's a via medium that we're communicating, tend to be a lot more aggressive with us, tend to be a lot more adversarial. So therefore, the kind of content that you see end up coming up in the public forum is very hostile. And then that erodes the public trust in the brand, and therefore, it doesn't really add up to.
Yeah. Hardik, would you want to add?
I think it's not about effective, ineffective. I think it's, to be very fair, it's about perspectives of the brand, which is created much before crisis, right? If it's a legacy brand, it's a larger corporate brand, which is also into real estate, they will be perceived very differently compared to a standalone real estate player in that sense. Also, most of the times, crisis is not something which it appears. It's already happened, a few weeks back, few days back, which is not managed well on ground. And most of us deal with it when it's been amplified by surround sound.
Yeah.
And I think most of us need to, from a communication perspective, I think our role needs to evolve to change, to consult in terms of how to manage it on ground rather than once it's appearing in media or social media nowadays. I generally believe and firmly believe is basically it's what you do is only 10%. 90% is your behavior.
Yeah.
If the real estate brand firm does not have that reputation which is built up earlier, you will face more challenges when it comes to a crisis. And my submission is not everything is also crisis, right? People generally now tend to make smaller things as crisis. Oh, my headline is not right. There's a notice from RERA. There is etc. happening in my organization, which is a crisis. And now, fortunately, unfortunately, everybody in the organization thinks that they know communication. So it's on WhatsApp that, okay, this has happened 6 o'clock in the morning, fastest fingers first. The first message to CEO is the winner. So I think that's how the organizations are facing challenge much more than actual crisis on ground. So I think that perspective needs to change.
Yeah.
And our role as consultants to large organizations or corporates needs to change in a way that, okay, first understand what's happening on ground. Are you listening it properly? Are you understanding the consumer sentiments? Because the emotions flow. The customers,
Especially
investors,
during a crisis.
yes,
Yeah.
and the stakeholders are much more than media. And media is the last one who will report. But what's happening before that is something which needs to be managed much better.
So I'll take it up from where Hardik just left. The most important part of effectivity of any crisis is time. And like literally time stands for money when it comes to crisis. So the way I see it, your role as an advisor to the CEO or the inner circle of the real estate company plays a great deal of role, when it comes to effectively manage any sort of crisis. So if you're the last person to know that there is a crisis, that already means you are in crisis as an agency. So, if as a PR agency, I think the definition of crisis has changed over these years. And also our roles, our expectation from our roles has changed greatly. So what tells me today is that, as PR communicators, we need to be very linked with our clients, to an extent that the communication flow ahead of crisis is seamless.
Yeah.
So the way sort of I see it is now you have layers of crisis management, right? Like you have community, you have customer, you have, investors, and then last but not the least is your internal stakeholders,
Yeah.
correct? Your own employees.
Yeah.
And so there is a varied amount of roles, like, Hardik said, that
before it goes to press, there are just so many more layers to manage for that effectivity to come into play. So, and world's becoming smaller. Everybody knows everything.
The fastest finger first.
Right? So everyone knows everything. So you giving a story last to the press is any which way is very ineffective.
Yeah.
So the right thing to do would be at this point in time is to understand the effect or the impact of that crisis and then act on it. Initially, we used to just act on it, but as we've sort of matured in our careers and the agencies have sort of taken on the hit of experiences, we've just realized that it's so, so important to realize who is this crisis hitting? And, how is that hit going to impact their business, reputation, and so on and so forth?
Agree with you. What Hardik also mentioned was very important, that not everything is a crisis.
Exactly.
Sometimes we tend to put everything under the straitjacket of this is a crisis, this is not a crisis. Hardik, you wanted to say something before I
Yeah,
move?
sure. I think it's very important to differentiate between issues and crisis in that sense. And like she really mentioned that time is of essence. Now, earlier when we used to have a crisis playbook, we had a term called golden hour. Now it's a golden minute because in 1 minute everything is there on social media.
Golden second now.
Yeah. So yeah, things are getting difficult for all of us. But I think it's fun to work on those scenarios. And coming back to your point on issues versus crisis, I think we will have to define and maybe educate a larger stakeholder perspective, saying that okay, this is an issue. Like for example, something which is temporary at a particular location, that's an issue. A crisis is a reputational, question mark on your brand existence itself. Or sometimes the crisis is nothing to do with your brand. It actually has to do with a person in the organization,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If you having, it's a larger group, and the group CEO has been accused of certain things. Your one particular brand, which is in real estate, will have its own bearings and not in it. So it's nothing. It's becoming much more than the brand when it impacts the larger stakeholders in that sense. So that understanding needs to be very, very clear. So yeah.
But if I may just add,
Yeah.
look, I think there are a couple of things we need to take a step back on, right? One, is this crisis management or media management? Number one, right? Often clients push you to media management. I personally believe there has to be a lot of internal alignment before you do external amplification. Now, clients, again, look, I'm not pessimistic, all right? I'm just saying out of what I've seen and experienced. Clients want you to actually jump onto external amplification without internal alignment. What I mean by internal alignment, right? And since it's on reputation, two fundamental qualities that would tie you to reputation, right? And reputation is a very funny word. I mean, it goes very slow up, but comes down very fast. So image is something that the perception, right? It's perception, how people perceive you, fundamental to reputation. And what you do as an organization, which is your identity, your performance, your vision, and how a stickler you are to that vision and to that delivery of your performance. Now, what invariably happens is your identity is on the rocks, but you want a great image to be maintained. And I think that misalignment is what causes all the issues. And therefore, when anything happens in the ecosystem, right, remotely concerning the brand, the client, we all get very jittery.
Yeah.
And I think, so the answer, the short answer to that long winding response, therefore, is it's important for us to also, therefore, encourage the brands to ensure that the internal alignment is placed on a very high pedestal before we go about trying to, manage externally.
So that brings me to my next question, and it kind of leads into it. How do you distinguish between a temporary PR hiccup and a genuine reputation crisis? You almost made a passing remark on that, and that demands immediate action. How do you distinguish? Because I understand when a crisis is out there in the open, you are running against the time, right?
Yeah.
Now it's nanoseconds that you have to react. But how do you then distinguish between, let's say it's just a hitch, or maybe it has the seeds of a bigger crisis? How do you do that?
Yeah, I mean,
Anyone, the oldest one can take
Yeah,
this.
Okay, I will take it. Okay, I'm not the oldest one, but yeah, I think, see, give you a simple example, maybe outside real estate. If your food in a flight is not served right, it's a hiccup. But what happened recently to one of the airline? That's a crisis, right? And that crisis happened because you are not acting on certain things which you were supposed to act a year back.
Yeah.
So in real estate, crisis happens in cycles, right? It happens during announcement of your project, your delivery of project, after forming an RWA. Lot of these issues, consultants are blamed.
Yeah.
Lot of these are repetitive cases, and as you rightly mentioned, it's the biggest investment of life. So these things happen, and I think if you are getting a complaint, okay, there is a leakage or there is certain protest which happens, those are one-offs. Those are crises, needs to be handled in a way it needs to be handled, but those are one-offs. The idea is to how we can prevent the larger reputational issues where you have, if in every crisis will have a pattern which needs to be studied very, very clearly. So you need to have, now everybody would have social listening tools. Again, at Rat Factors, we have our own proprietary AI based listening tool called Kalki. But I think it's very, very important for all of us to understand what's happening on day-to-day basis. So the crisis can be prevented. And crisis is something, if I do define crisis one line, crisis is issues which are ignored earlier. So if it's certain things which is ignored earlier, and if you're not acting to it, or choose not to act it because you feel it's not happening, or if you see, oh, it's a small Nagpur post which has been posted, it's not Times of India, for example, then it's a crisis, because otherwise you start thinking what one post or one simple tweet can lead it to. You need to be prepared for that.
Sure. Angela.
So the way I see it, just to connect with the Gen Zs and the younger audience, we call it creeping crisis or we call it hidden crisis. Usually creeping is the one which is literally brewing for a long period of time and we ignore Nagpur post and then suddenly,
Nagpur becomes Times of
yeah,
India.
Nagpur becomes Times of India and there's a great deal of issue. And then there is a hidden crisis that, even the top management wouldn't know that this is coming their way. So the way we see it is, and leave alone that time scenarios don't matter. That time is just temperaments that you manage ahead of scenarios, right? And unfortunately, we become media managers. We get onto the job to ensure that the reputation. Ultimately, the voice of the press is the voice of what defines where your reputation lies the next morning. So while I do not disagree that this is the most important thing at that particular point in time to do, but there is a parallel machinery which PR firms like us are trying to sort of follow is, there is a part of us who manages an advisory role and there's a part of us who's parallelly just on the job to achieve that short-term goal because, ultimately the team is under pressure. So, our job as communicators is not only to manage the client's sentiment, but also to ensure that the team who's on the job achieves their goal. So the way the entire crisis communication today is taking a different definition altogether. Obviously the social media becomes a great degree of, because sometimes the crisis is just brewing and, while it cannot be reported in the press, but the guy who writes in the press is reporting it on his Twitter handle just to check what the reaction are on, is this news even confirmed or not? So that's a heads up enough that, either we just latch on to what's going on and start preparing for the worst, or then have a viewpoint which is bold enough to say that, hey, let's, figure it out.
I just have a different perspective in this. I think what happens in most of the agencies, including ours, certain times gets overwhelmed when it's a media crisis. Or you rightly mentioned it's a media management issue.
Which is rightly so, but
Yeah, but I think as we evolve, as the industry evolves, and I think there needs to take a step back and understand, okay, everything is not meant to be dealt in a media fashion way, right? Media is doing a great job by putting out facts as per their understanding and knowledge, right? It's our job to course correct the fact if the facts are not right. But media, as I earlier said, that it's as a last uh, audience when it comes to, it's already reporting what's already happened. Now, if you we don't get evolved as reputational consultants to most of our clients in a way that, okay, we are dealing only with media, and we don't provide them legal advisory, we don't provide them fact checking perspective, we don't provide them certification, understanding that, okay, certain clients are going and claiming I'm doing green, I'm doing etc. So those, I think, as the market evolves, I think most of us, at least I know, the large part of industry is getting evolved to have those kind of people in the system. Like, we have lawyers, we have ESG experts, we have fact checkers, and I'm sure most of these guys will also have that, because that's the need of the day. It's no longer, oh, I'm going to manage one or two media, right? I mean, yes, media is very critical and very important voice when it comes to the building a reputation. But as I said, client now needs consulting beyond just managing media. Mature clients definitely doesn't get bothered about what's the media is going to report, because end of the day, my decision of buying a home is not by reading a story.
Yeah.
My decision of buying a home is by whether I like or trust that person or that brand at all. That trust and that brand needs to be very, very clear. And certain things which are wrong, I think agencies need to go out and tell that this is wrong. I think most of us, and
Tell the truth that, this is not happening.
so
the
I
right
will
way, maybe.
reword it.
Mm.
There is honesty is definitely required, but
Required.
what is not required is uncontrolled disclosure.
Yeah.
So you disclose certain things which is required from honesty perspective, but you don't disclose in a way which is not supposed to. And who's disclosing? Who's taking the responsibility? Is the CEO coming out and saying, okay, this is our mistake, this is what we have done? That is needed. You can't have a statement which says XYZ official said, no name, nothing, etc. And who's taking the responsibility? I think that is very, very critical when a reputation is getting built over years.
Again, I think your question was hiccup and a major crisis, right? Look, I'll tell you what, there's no one yardstick to say what's a hiccup and what's a crisis, because every brand, it's contextualized. I mean, it's all context driven. But what I can tell you is, look, anything that doesn't fundamentally affect you, right? It's a hiccup, right? But of course, it's a different matter that I'm so image conscious that a little hiccup feels like a crisis to me, but it is not, right? As long as it doesn't erode the stakeholder trust in me, the investors trust in what we do. It's not related to my core product, my core offering. It's not necessarily a crisis, all right? I'll give you an example. A very leading developer, one of the largest in the country, has a huge township near Mumbai, right? Now, of course, there was a murder that took place, and this is a real crisis last year. There was a murder that took place, and then the next day's paper was all about that murder that took place. Now, obviously, if you're writing a story as a journalist, you would want to geographically place it, right? So you will say that an XYZ murder took place at an ABC place, right? Now, honestly, that is not a referendum, that's not a commentary on your product, your brand. But then obviously the client does get jittery because your property's name or your society's name is mentioned. But to me, honestly, that's a PR hiccup, because if you don't think of it as a hiccup, you're really underestimating the reader's intelligence. Because do you think I will blame that ABC developer because a murder took place in that place? Right? However, now let's take that same developer. There was a story that somebody punched and the wall broke through. Now that to me is a crisis. Why? Because it fundamentally questions my offering, my building quality or whatever. I mean, of course, like I said, Noam Chomsky has very famously said, a lot of it is manufactured dissent, manufactured views, right? So it can be manufactured in today's day and age, but I'm discounting it. Let's take it at a face value. Somebody punched through the wall and the wall broke through and you actually went into the neighbor's place, right? So that to me is a crisis, because it affects
That's a big crisis to me.
Yeah.
And from what I believe is also the time that all of you have like 20 plus years of experience in this, right? So you know by now that what is a hiccup, it's your gut. You can on the first day say that, look, this is just a hiccup, we will manage. this is going to be a crisis, right? Like Nagpur to Times of India, that is something shifting very quickly, right? So my next question again is, what is the early warning sign system or monitoring practices that you do? You did mention Kalki, I think. What are some of these that you're implementing, and why has it become so important to have that? Is it because of social media or the speed at which news travel?
Oh, so today everybody is a journalist, right? Everybody who has a phone is a journalist.
Publisher.
So I think that's where the complexity of the situation is multiplying in that sense. It's no longer, if I have to say how the world is changing, if the prime minister has to give an interview, he'll go to a podcaster. He's not going to a media house. So that's how the complex situations are happening. That's how consumption of news is happening. And if we are not listening to what's happening on ground in that sense on day-to-day basis or even hourly basis or minute by minute, then we are losing a lot of things. We are not prepared for what's going to happen next, and if you are not prepared, we will not be able to face. I think
To manage
the,
the situation.
the basic principle of crisis management is preparedness. If you are not prepared, if you are not there understanding and have a yes, there are a lot of technologies there, but human interventions is not going from a crisis understanding, because end of the day you're playing with emotions. You're playing with people. Uh, so having the right set of understanding on analytics perspective. So PR professionals from media managers are now actually become analytics. They are analyzing situation. Okay, this is going to happen now. Next will this will happen. Next will this will happen, and a report is generated and given to the client saying, okay, we think this is going to happen, you should do 10 things. Now obviously certain things cannot be done, but I think that understanding of what could go wrong is primary. And I think when it comes to real estate or any other field, social listening, or in that sense contextual listening, what we call, is common, and I think it's commonly done by every brand. If I understand, to what degree is the question mark, and what they
It's a
do
must
after
do
that is also a
now,
bigger
right?
question mark.
In fact,
It's a must do now.
look, I think
True.
a lot of tech dependence is there, right? I mean, today you have a lot of, AI tools that you look at. I mean, for publicly available, you have something like a talk walker, meltwater. I mean, these are tools that you'd use typically to locate conversations. And how it typically happens is you have an XYZ handle, right? Putting out something. Now, a tool like Talkwalker lets you know who's put it out, who all has endorsed it, and where all is it traveling on the globe, right? And you get that virality map. You're able to then zoom in and see who's that person, how many followers. So look, if somebody's put up a grouse, and this is because I'm harking back to how do you identify it, right? So first part A to it is tech. I'm talking about tech right now, which is the tech is throwing the data to you. Now it tells you that there is somebody in New Delhi who's posted a content on your brand, but that person only has 10 followers. All right. Now, to me, probably at that stage, that's not a crisis. That's not even inkling of a crisis. But if it gets picked up by another handle, let's say, which has 100,000 followers, that's a crisis to me. I mean, at least a brewing crisis to me, as Angelica said. So then I am looking at, a number that can potentially damage me. Now, but then comes the human int, right? Which is where you have honed your understanding of the market and what works, what wouldn't. And therefore you'll put on your thinking hat to say, you know what, 100,000 followers, okay, but not very, maybe tangential to my industry, not very worried. However, let's say it was 50,000 followers with somebody who's really an influential voice in my sector. Then I'll really sit up, take notice, I'll start mapping. So therefore, it's a combination, right? A combination of technology and human int that you hone over the years that will help you distill out a lot of the noise from the potential crises, and therefore it allows you to deploy your resources to managing, quelling, or engaging with that particular crisis point for certain effective intervention, as against spreading yourselves very
You want
thin.
to add something?
Yeah. Tech is great and all utilization of tools is great, but the way to combat crisis, or how we are seeing it right now, is that we do not ignore any passive voices. Before the passive voice changes into active, one needs to sort of take notice of the surround sound, make a fact check what's going on, check with the management if there is any action to be, taken, or not any just action, maybe just, give a reaction if you have some, because soon that, and it's really helped us, not ignoring those passive voices and understand if there is a vengeance, if there is a personal agenda, propaganda behind it. And for a very decent client, I mean, it helped us going a great degree of even correcting an AI tool which picked up incorrect words and created a perspective if there was a Google search made. So we actually went on to Google and correcting them just because they had picked up passive voices. So, that's great that we're not relying completely on technology, but ignorance is definitely not bliss, when it comes to crisis.
I totally agree. What I think, one understanding of the situation, be it 10 follower or 100 follower, the 10 guy could have tagged PMO and multiple people, and one of them reacts, there's a bigger crisis.
In
right?
fact, sometimes those 10 followers will actually tag the CM. And
that's very
it's,
often.
yeah,
That's
it's very
very
often. So it can actually, so
Very
there are,
often.
it's true. There are two sides to it, right? So one side it says, listen, I'm not a big deal, but I'm marking whoever's the authority. And the second way of looking at it is, please do not take this lightly. And,
Exactly.
and it sort of worked. And see, real estate business at large is a risky business. Unless you have a great appetite for risk, you will not be in this business. So, the people as communicators, I mean, we do have a great appetite for risk bearing too. But we've at least, like Hardik said, we are inclining, we are on the road to a stronger, advisory, consultancy, beyond just output process. And people are also realizing that beyond media management, there's a lot more stakeholder management, because ultimately, you may not be speaking to the press, but your stakeholders may be, and that becomes the source of information.
So, you have recognized the crisis. You have tools to recognize it. Can you give me an understanding of how do you prioritize communication across your different stakeholders? Is it investor, tenants? Who will be your first point of contact, and how you go beyond that?
So it's not a like standard process. It's who's getting impacted the most is
Are you
one way of
first?
looking at it. Second way of looking, who's going to create the most noise, right? Certain times people choose to remain silent. Now, today's in digital world, silence is no longer neutral. When you're silent and say, oh, no comment or not available for comment, it's assumed that, okay, you are
Guilty.
without saying it.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the things change. If it's genuine crisis, a genuine mistake, I think it's good to own up in a way which is more appropriate. Obviously, legal consideration is to take in place, but I think from a stakeholder perspective, for real estate, I think the biggest stakeholder should be your home buyers or consumers. If it's a PE-led organization or have huge investments, they also need to talk about the risk they are going to face and returns, because it's a question mark, right? So these two remains most important. When it comes through communication, as I said earlier, 90% behavior, 10% communication. The communication part, most of us will be taking care of, right? Because and beyond a point, you can't change what has happened. You may just create a narrative which is around it, or try to soften it, use your friend circles, etc. But I think beyond a point, what has happened. So media becomes an important stakeholder if it's reporting in a way which is completely against what has happened. But otherwise, media, as I said, media is an outcome of what has already happened. So those stakeholders are impacted, and those who are going to make the maximum noise needs to be
Addressed
treated equally.
first.
Yeah.
So if I talk from a framework point of view, right? Typically, I mean, if I'm doing a risk profiling for a client, I would look at within real estate, I would look at what works, what wouldn't, right? And I give a percentage. Governance in real estate is a significant thing. So if I'm doing a risk profiling, I would attribute 30-40% of my effort to governance as an attribute, right? Likewise, I would look at on-time delivery of projects, transparency in my dealings and therefore the way I'm executing my projects, etc. And you're weighting them, like you're giving them a weighted average. Now what happens is, depending on the crisis, and I know where the crisis impacts the most. If the crisis is of governance nature, then obviously the audience that needs to be addressed as part of that governance then gets addressed versus the other. I think I would leave it at that in the interest of time. Yeah.
So just one last question, because we are out of time and it's beaming at me. So what reputation risk do you see emerging in real estate in the next 5 years? And we are talking about a time when you're saying crisis can erupt in nanoseconds and impact anyone and everyone at any time. So what do you think would be some of the bigger crises that you would look at in terms of real estate in next 5 years?
See, I think from a reputation perspective, real estate has always been facing a crisis, which is now more prominent, is overselling and under delivery.
Yeah.
Right. And now with stringent norms, you can't just say I'm complied with ESG, right? By just planting certain trees or having green pastures or open areas. ESG is now very stringent in that sense. It's not enough to have a LEED certification program. It's not just enough to have certain reports which you create every year and say we are doing ESG. I think greenwashing as a subject has really hit real estate, and because end of day you are responsible for a lot of carbon emissions when it comes because of construction, and when you are not trying to do it genuinely but it's only on paper, then it's a bigger challenge. So that crisis is must. Also, a lot of real estate players are always under pressure for sales and delivery.
Yeah.
So if you see, a lot of churn happens across the board. Those who are owner driven and those are executive driven, you will see the difference in the churning of the senior management which happens. That also becomes a reputation crisis. The returns to investors is getting marginalized day by day. If you see all the listed players, most of them are in trouble. So crises of multiple nature, but I think it's just the crises were always there. I think the scrutiny today is much more, and you can't run away from it. You will have to deal with it as a real estate player, and I think somebody needs to really own it up even at the CEO level. So that's how crises have been changing.
So what I'm getting from all of you is crises will always be there. Crisis will always be there. It is how we understand it and how we turn it around into an opportunity to show value to the stakeholders, which are your promoters, your tenants, and the entire community.
Right.
With that, I would like to thank all the three of you for this session. And thank you. And sorry, we've been over time now. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you so much. Please give them a
you.
big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for adding so many insights to this conversation regarding reputation management. I'll request all of you to remain on stage, please. I'm going to be calling upon stage Mr. Akhil Saraf, founder and CEO, Realty, to please kindly come up on stage and give the token of appreciation to our esteemed speakers over here. A big round of applause once again for Mr. Saraf over here as he makes his way to the stage. Thank you. One group photo together at the end. So much. We'll do a nice group photograph with all of you together, please. Thank you so much. Phenomenal session indeed when it comes to PR, crisis management, reputation management. Yes, there it is. The guide from the photographer everybody needs to follow. It's the boss man in the house. Thank you so much. Please clap it up once again for them, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. All right. From the panel discussions and conversations, it's now time to move forward to the very special Realty Plus Real Talk. This is about celebrating incredible success stories who have been an absolute pioneer and a visionary in the space. This is going to be a real talk, and we get to know about the making of an icon inside the success story of a brand. This is going to be truly special. To do the honors on stage, I'm going to be calling up on stage everybody. She's one of the most popular ladies when it comes to Realty Plus. After an active architectural practice of more than a decade, she forayed into journalism in the year 2006. And all I can say about her is that she has never looked back since then. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Sapna Srivastava, editor of Realty Plus. Clap it up for her, please, as she makes her way to the stage to moderate this session. Thank you so much. Where are you, Sapna? I can't see you. Yeah, I can see you. Thank you. And joining Sapna on stage, we have the man whom we are celebrating at the moment. His legacy is truly, truly phenomenal. A qualified architect who has had over 2 decades of experience, and he stands as a first-generation developer who has built a reputation for design, innovation, quality, integrity, and value creation. His entrepreneurial journey began in the year 2011, and under his leadership, Platinum Corp has delivered more than 1.7 million square feet, with 1 million square feet under construction and 2.20 million square feet upcoming. He's also an active member of the managing committees of leading associations such as NAREDCO, BDA, reinforcing his commitment to industry advancement. It's my humble honor and privilege to call upon stage the one and only Mr. Vishal Ratanghaira, founder and CEO, Platinum Corp. Thank you so much, Vishalji, for joining us over here. What a pleasure. Can we please clap it up a little louder for Vishalji? Thank you. Sapna, over to you. The timer is right there. You can follow that for your reference.
Thanks, Shobhajit, for the introductions. And as we were talking, we had a very exhilarating day of discussions. So it's a branding conclave. We spoke about PR, we spoke about content. Very eminent speakers, they spoke about the legacy in real estate, how to maintain that, the social media effect. So now we are going to wrap up this entire conclave where we spoke about all the aspects of branding in real estate to know about how to build a brand, how to start from a scratch and build a brand. And who better to tell us about that but a person who himself has built a brand. So Vishal, in 2010, you established Platinum Corp. So first of all, what was your vision behind it? What was your big brand idea of, behind establishing this organization?
Okay, first of all, thank you, Sapna, for the kind introduction, and a big thank you to Realty Plus for giving me the opportunity. So, Gurminder Singh and me, both of us, my partner Gurminder and me, we were doing various aspects of real estate, but we had not sort of turned into real estate developers. Only in 2010-11, we decided that we should start our own development business with a simple idea that we saw a sort of a vacuum in the space of value housing. We saw that everyone was chasing luxury back then, and whereas the market, the signs were very evident that the market back in 2010-11 sort of was really looking at affordable and value conscious housing. Of course, the definition of affordable housing in Mumbai is very different, but even in the context of Mumbai, there was this very standard conversation in everyday talks that there is nothing available for 1 crore of rupees in Mumbai. And we saw that as a huge opportunity and decided to, see if we are able to offer well-constructed, well-designed, branded residences in about 1 crore of rupees in good locations of Mumbai. So we started the company with that vision, and it turned out to be sort of a huge blessing, because the next 5-6 years, as we all know, was very challenging for real estate, and the whole space of value conscious real estate was growing. And so we sort of, we were able to scale up quite well with that kind of a product offering.
If I have to say, it's a value conscious brand.
Yes.
That is what you were planning to achieve when you established Platinum Corp. 1 crore homes, value conscious brand. Now, obviously, real estate is a very competitive market, very difficult sector. If you have to say during the journey from 2010 to today, top one or two challenges that you had to face in achieving your, building your brand.
Well, the biggest challenge was back then we were not a brand, so we were not known at all. So now today, what you call us a brand is nothing but an outcome of a journey which just got transformed from being nobody to being a recognized player in this value conscious real estate. And in that process, when we were doing that, we realized that, within the value conscious segment, there are various, the spectrum itself is large. It can be, from 1 crore to 3 crores or even 4 crores. It all depends on, which location of Mumbai and what kind of a product that you're offering. So that was one challenge that we were not at all recognized. And we had to sort of get visibility through our work. Because, as it was mentioned earlier today also that, just communication really doesn't help. It has to be, communication is just 10%, 90% has to be behavior. So behavior meaning what you really do from morning to night is your behavior. So that really had to be, in its place. The other challenge obviously was the space that we were operating in was not looked up by and large as anyone would want to sort of be in that space. It sort of had the risk of getting us typecasted into affordable housing developer, so to say. But we realized that it was, and the customers, the response, the feedback we got from customers gave us a lot of encouragement. Is that we realized that there is a huge segment in Mumbai which is looking at this value conscious real estate, and people are just, developers are just sort of shying away from it because everyone wants to be known as a luxury housing provider or a luxury builder. But by doing that, they were leaving out a huge percentage of people, the population. So when we started, churning out projects and started completing them, and when people started moving in them, is when this thing got established that yes, you can offer value conscious real estate which are slightly compact in sizes, but yet they are very, very nicely habitable, usable. So eventually that challenge also sort of went away.
Okay. So two challenges, as Vishal mentioned. First is not being known as a brand. So that brand journey from there on,
Yes.
that you are a certain brand, you are only known for that category of customers. So two challenges. Now, how did you kind of approach these challenges? What was your success mantra, if I have to ask you? Because you have done from redevelopment to now even luxury and premium. So what has been your success mantra?
See, the only success mantra I think we started out with, and we very consciously drilled this concept into each and every person of our team, was to be customer centric. Once each and every person in your organization, right from the top boss to your chief architect, your chief engineer, the construction staff, your salespeople, even to your office boys and your drivers, if they understand the meaning of being customer centric and how do you make people happy, once your organization has imbibed this culture, then I think becoming or brand or making of a brand is just sort of an outcome of the process that you are following over a period of years.
Yeah, correct. I think this is one word that we heard the entire day. The customer is the center of everything. Real estate is now becoming like a FMCG, after sales service. Customers don't, earlier customers को अगर घर मिल गया तो खुश हो गए. अभी उनको उससे ज़्यादा चाहिए. It's not just four walls, but they need a clubhouse, they need amenities, they need garden, things like that. I'm sure there have been many achievements on the way in your journey, but one achievement that you are really proud of.
The biggest achievement that I am really proud of is, in spite of being a first generation entrepreneur in the field of real estate, which itself has its own entry barriers.
Right.
Having worked in real estate for 20 years and having run this organization for the last 14, 15 years with a team of 250 people, 1.75 million square feet completed, more than 1,500 homes delivered. Till date, Sapna, we don't have a single complaint in RERA against us. Not a single RERA complaint. And I think that truly means, that is the true meaning of being a brand or being a good brand. When you don't have people complaining against you, when you just have happy customers at all across all levels, I think that's the biggest achievement that we are really proud of.
Okay, so that's the biggest achievement for Vishal. If customers, there is not one single customer complaining, then what more can any entrepreneur ask for? We have some, very quick response questions I have for you. If Platinum Corp was a person or a personality, how will you describe it?
Okay. I think if Platinum Corp was a person, he would be that, friend of yours in the room whom you can go to and talk to about anything under the sun, or if you are in difficulty, you can approach for help, or if you are in distress, you can also probably put your head on his shoulders and cry. That's the kind of a person Platinum
3
Corp
a.m.
is.
3 a.m. friend like this.
Absolutely, your 3 a.m. friend.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Next one is, which is more important? And they both are important in my view, design or location. What is more important?
I feel more important is design, because I feel as developers today, I think with the support from the government and the technologically advancement that we have seen, locations are being created on a regular basis. But what really wins is design.
Okay, design.
I might be saying that because of my bias being an architect, but I feel that design definitely wins over location.
Right, because you have to live in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. What is the biggest branding myth in real estate that you would say?
I think the biggest branding myth is real estate. A brand can be built overnight, or, excessive communication builds brand. I think that's a very big myth. I firmly believe that it's only your behavior and your hard work which will build brands. Marketing on Instagram and all that is fine, but a real estate brand cannot be built instantly. It takes a lot of years and a lot of efforts to build it.
No instant noodles here.
No instant noodles, no instant gratification
Okay.
here.
Okay, so communication also, listening, not excessive communication. Yes, you have to put out your word, work out there. You have to tell people about yourself, but let's not go overboard. Any brand, in any global brand, even out of real estate, if it is, that you really admire as a brand?
I think I personally really admire Apple, because I think it stretches the entire spectrum, in spite of it being functional, extremely well designed, not excessively priced, yet it comes under the segment of luxury. So I think Apple is a very, very good example of, what a true brand is. Approachable, accessible, customer friendly, yet it gives you the feeling of, a proud ownership. So it's got all of that. So I feel Apple is a perfect example.
Yeah, of course, we all agree.
Yeah.
It's an aspirational. Everyone wants to have that,
Yes,
So, and,
yes.
that is the differentiator, I think, between, among, although Androids have the best life, best batteries, but
Yes.
still people want to own an
Yes.
iPhone. Now, lastly, if I have to ask you, there are a lot of young, we had sessions with the young developers. There are many more professionals who are looking at being part of real estate. What will be your word of advice for the young professionals who are coming into this real estate? They want to build a brand for themselves. Like you said, it cannot be made in an instant. It's not built overnight. So what's your advice for the young guys or girls who are entering real estate?
Well, Sapna, I'm nobody to advise anyone to begin with, but with my limited understanding, all I can say is this is one business which really takes up, you need to give 100% of your life to it for a good, consistent 2 decades before you can say that you have done something meaningful in the field of real estate. So it's a huge commitment compared to a lot of other businesses which have got, quicker exits, quicker valuations. But real estate is and will always remain a brick and mortar business, and it's going to be a tough business to before you reach a particular level in terms of valuation or brand.
So whoever is thinking of making a real estate brand should come with a lot of patience.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, you nailed it.
Okay, fantastic. From the buyer's point of view, what is that they should not expect from a brand? Any brand, it could be an established brand, it can be a new brand. Where do they go wrong? What should they not expect?
I think a buyer needs to understand the DNA of a brand before making the purchase decision, and then rather than getting sort of the feeling of letdown. For example, if you purchase any cola, you can't really expect to become healthy with it. So it's a bit like that, all I can say is the purchaser needs to understand the DNA of the brand very well before making the purchase decision, so that they will not be let down.
Keeping your expectations right.
Correct.
And understanding before what you're stepping into.
Yes.
Because obviously that brand might have its own way of working, and then
Right, because every organization, every brand has a way of working. With every brand, there is a promise. Like Apple there is an inherent underlying promise being given to you by Apple that this is how it will work and this is what you should expect. Likewise, every brand, be it big or small, comes with a promise, a set of promises, set of expectations. Once you understand that, I think then the feeling will be cordial and you will not get the feeling of being
fantastic.
let down.
So I think very good takeaways here. If you are planning to build a brand, patience is what Vishal says. Anyone has to have patience. If you are building a brand, the challenges that you face from being a nobody to being typecast to then making a place for yourself, then maintaining it, sustaining it to make sure that, like you said, there is no complaint from the buyers.
Yes.
So that is one achievement that one has to look for and as you said, that brand identity has to filter down to the entire organization,
Yes.
right from the bottom to the top.
Yes.
That is to be there. And from the customer side, you understand the DNA of the brand, because sometimes it's not the brand or the organization that has done wrong. It is probably your expectations that were not right from the brand.
Exactly.
So thank you, Vishal. Thank you for, giving us that very closing to this entire conclave. We spoke about all the aspects of branding, and now we heard how actually to make a brand and brand that sustains itself. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sapna. Thank you for the
Vishal.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I request all of you to please clap it up loudly for this incredible special moment. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us over here. Mr. Vishal, we truly appreciate your presence over here. Thank you, Sapna, for doing the session and for the memorable occasion. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of the India Brand Leadership Conclave, which has been absolutely, truly engaging, insightful, and thought-provoking. We'll be seeing you very, very shortly, soon in the India Brand Leadership Awards 2026. We'll be giving the hall a bit of a makeover, so I request everybody to please kindly vacate the auditorium room so that our kind hotel staff can get the room cleared and sorted for the awards that's set to take place. And I also request everybody to please kindly re-register themselves for the awards, those who are staying back for the awards. I request you to please kindly re-register yourself for the awards, the India Brand Leadership Awards 2026. Till then, see you all very soon. Enjoy your tea break, enjoy your beverages. See you shortly on the other side during the awards.